Tonight on Geek Tank,
My second installment of How to Paint Miniatures.
and MOONDAY. Oh, not that kind of moon.
Geek Tank.
Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. You got just one ring that'll rule them all. Hoopy fruit, remember your towel. Get your Uru hammers and your Needler guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Use Valerian steel if it'll get you to come to the Geek Tank. To the Geek Tank, the Rocky Mountain Geek Tank.
Hi, I'm Guy,
And I'm Troy.
and this is Geek Tank for July 25th, 2014, Friday. Thanks for joining us when we moved to our new day and everything. What's wrong? I like it.
Does your wife let you leave the house like that, or do you have to sneak past her? You'd think an artist would have a better idea of color matching.
So, working for the Geek End.
Yes, working for the Geek End. This is where I talk to you about the things that are coming up in the universe as it centers more closely into the Denver and Rocky Mountain area related to geeky, nerdy stuff. And so, Gertie. Or Niki.
Niki Gertie.
So, movies. We have Hercules coming out today, starring Dwayne Johnson, also known to some as The Rock.
The Rock.
The Rock. Totally different actor. It's Hercules
Hercules.
and Dwayne Johnson.
I like Kevin Sorbo.
Kevin Sorbo probably would have been
Better choice.
probably not as much money making though on the
That's
box
true.
office.
The
So
Rock.
I'm curious if they're going to actually follow the 12 Tasks of Hercules, which I've not seen any of them do quite right. But we'll find out.
We'll find out.
Video games.
Video games.
Being released for the Wii U. Big fan of Kung Pao. Wii U. Is Wii Sports. Not Wii U Sports. They just call it Wii Sports. Which, if sports is dangerous, then you can have the video game version of sports, which is slightly less dangerous but breaks more furniture. Do you have a Wii U?
I don't have a Wii U. Do you have a Wii U?
I don't have a Wii U either. Maybe if
Do
you have a Wii U.
have a Wii U?
So, my
Okay.
favorite movie place, the Alamo Drafthouse,
Alamo
which is at
Drafthouse.
7301 South Santa Fe Drive, which is Aspen Grove Shopping Center. They're awesome movie theater. They're doing this entire of the 28th through the 1st of August at 11 a.m. They are showing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for their Alamo Kids Club, which is only $1 to get in. And that is donated directly to the Young Filmmakers Workshop, which is run by the Denver Film Society. And that's where they teach kids that are 12 through 18 how to make movies and films.
Speaking of replacements, I never really liked Johnny Depp as Charlie in Chocolate
I really
Factory
like the
Charlie.
first one because, well, one, Gene Wilder,
Gene
far
Wilder.
funnier,
Yeah.
better timing. The music and songs were better.
There's also memes. You don't see memes of Johnny Depp.
Well, you do, but not of that.
None of that.
But Johnny
go.
Depp fans, obviously, were all excited about it. So there, that's the stuff we got coming up. Man, I almost forgot the most awesomest thing. Conclave of Gamers taking place at the Crown Plaza DIA at Chamber Roads, which is at 15500 East 40th Avenue. It is a convention going Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, starting today, of games. We're going to be there. Come join us. Play
Come
games.
join us.
Fun. It's like $46 to get in for the whole weekend.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, cool. Well, now it's time for Book of the Geek.
Book geek.
Book Geek.
This is Mariah, and I'm standing outside Black and Red at 7821 Wadsworth in Arvada, and this is Book of the Geek. I didn't finish reading The Hollow Man from last week's episode, so I'm going to start off with a book by two giants of the genre writing field, Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter. The book is The Long Earth, and it was a very interesting concept because the story is that mankind develops the ability to jump between millions of parallel Earths. There's not a whole lot of Terry Pratchett's signature humor in the book, but you can see some of him in the cleverness of the writing. There is a lot of Stephen Baxter's signature weird and out there science fiction concepts. I haven't read any of Stephen Baxter's other books because they were a little too intimidating, but I did enjoy this one, so maybe I'll try a few of his other ones in the future. The story follows a Zeppelin designed to traverse the different worlds and a few different characters on board that Zeppelin, including a character who's a natural stepper, meaning he can travel without the machinery or getting sick, a character who is an artificial intelligence who believes he's the reincarnation of a Tibetan monk, and the daughter of the person who invented the technology to step. They have wild adventures, discover interesting things, and there's a sequel, of course. I thought the book was interesting, although not wildly exciting. I'd recommend it if you're a fan of either of those authors. Next, I'm going to talk about Cheese Sweet Home, which is my very favorite manga. I first read it in Japanese while I was living in Japan. They've since come out with an English version, which really captures the spirit of the Japanese version very well. Cheese Sweet Home is one of the only color manga I've ever read. It's really innocent and sweet. The pictures are just adorable. It's the story of a lost kitten finding a home with a family, with a preschooler, and two parents who are really loving, but very perplexed by what to do about this kitten. It's adorable, and I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys manga or comic books. This has been Book of the Geek. Troy and Guy, back to you.
And we're back.
I love Black and Red.
Oh, me too.
That's Red, R-E-A-D, which you obviously saw. I have spent so much money at that place. You should too. Go there. They have an awesome selection of games, books, songs, movies.
It's really great.
Mariah's.
It's really great.
Well, they have
Mariah's.
one Mariah. So
You only had one
slightly
Mariah.
used.
Yeah, that's all right.
Moonday.
Moonday. So, as you know, last week was the 45th anniversary of the Apollo 11 landing on the moon. And so I decided to compile a few interesting facts.
10, 9, 8, 7.
We actually
It
don't have that
actually
much time.
turns pretty good. Anyway, so I compiled a few facts for you guys, which I thought would be very interesting, and I think you might find fascinating. So Neil Armstrong took a piece of the propeller of the Wright brothers flyer with him to the moon. Also, the widows of the Apollo 1 tragedy, Grissom and White and Chaffee, who all died in the fire in Apollo 1, they gave Deke Slayton a pin with a brooch with a bunch of little diamonds on it and everything like that. That went to the moon as well.
Kind of a way to honor
Yeah.
all of these pioneers in the world of flight.
Exactly. So that all went to the moon. I thought that was kind of cool. So that was interesting. And the other thing that we had was, of course, I'm going to put some data up right here for you on on all of the information on the Apollo 1. One of the other thing I thought was interesting was the 1201 and 1202 errors. So you'll hear whenever you listen to the loop, there was a 1201 and a 1202 error, and I thought that was fascinating. And what it turned out to be was they had on the checklist, they had one of the switches was set wrong on the checklist for the rendezvous radar. And so it was feeding information to the computer that was wrong, and the computer didn't have time to process, say, important things like landing.
So was that 1201 as in time?
No, it was just an error number,
Just
because back in the
pure
days, those computers wouldn't say anything. They just put out a number, and that's how you knew what was wrong with it. So those 1201 and 1202 errors, you'll hear that on the director's loop. They'll say 1202 errors, you're still go. So they'll put that all in there. So what it was saying effectively, it couldn't actually do the processing because of the fact that there were all those errors. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So The rendezvous radar was in the wrong place. Imagine that. So, also, when they came to a landing on the moon, they found when Neil Armstrong came down, there's these huge boulders on the moon, and they were just like, "Oh no, we can't land." So he took the ship and put it into manual, and then moved over and landed a few hundred yards past that field of rocks. And that's why you'll hear on the loop, Charlie Duke will say, "You got a whole bunch of people turning blue, and they're breathing again now because they were watching those fuel gauges as they went down towards zero. They were running out of fuel."
How could they have known that
Right.
the landing terrain wasn't going to be smooth up there?
Exactly. The cameras were just not good enough to see the terrain. Also, another interesting fact, Buzz Aldrin accidentally broke the breaker on the lunar module for the ascent engine to start the engine. And so they were like, well, great, now they're stuck on the moon. And then he took a felt tip pen and he put it in the breaker, and that's what they used to get the ascent engine to fire.
How does that electronically work?
Well,
How did
it was the switch on the breaker, and he broke the switch
Oh, so
off,
he just,
so it didn't
he
have
just
a switch.
needed something as a
so
lever.
he put that in there, and then that allowed him to throw the switch
Gotcha.
to get the ascent engine to fire. They were worried it wouldn't work because they didn't know whether it was
It
plastic.
only worked because the whole thing was faked. I'm just rubbing him the wrong way. So
I haven't taken my blood pressure medication today.
I took it for you. Been feeling loopy the whole time. So if you'd like to learn more about MOONDAY,
Yeah, if you'd like to learn more about the landing of the Apollo 11, push here, click there. Everything's good.
and if you'd like to upset Guy, push the button of saying that the moon landing was fake.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Just to send him emails.
Because I will argue with you until you are.
Blue in the face.
And a bunch of guys are turning blue, just like Charlie did.
So next we have the Springs.
Springs! It's time for Springs!
See you after this.
Okay.
Okay, all flight controllers, go for landing. Retro. Go. Fido. Go. Guidance. Go. Control. Go. Telcom. Go. GNC. Go. Ecom. Go. Surgeon. Go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Eagle, Houston, you're go for landing. Over. I understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet. Copy. Alarm. 1201. 1201. Roger, 1201 alarm. Same type, we're go flight. Okay, we're go. We're go. Same type, we're go. Flight side of right on, real good. 2,000 feet, 2,000 feet, into the ag, 47 degrees. Roger. How's the margin looking, Bob? It looks okay. We're about 4.5. Roger. Eagle looking great. Your go. Altitude update in the eggs. Looks good. Roger. Roger, 1202, we copy it. How you doing, Control? 35 degrees. We look good here, fine. Roger, how about you, Telcom? Go. Guidance, you happy? Go. Fido. Go. 23. 700 feet, 21 down. 33 degrees. 100 feet, down at 19. Okay, Bob, I'll be standing by for your call out shortly. 160 feet, 6.5 down. 5.5 down. 9 forward. Low level? Low level. Good. 20 feet. 100 feet, 3.5 down, 9 forward. 5%. 185. Okay, 75 feet. There's looking good, down a half. Roger. 60 seconds. 60 seconds. Lights on. 6. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. 30 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. 30 feet, 2.5 down. Take shadow. And half a 30. 4 forward. 4 forward, drift into the right a little. 30. 30 seconds. Down a half. 30 seconds. Forward, just. Good. Okay. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. ATA at a D10. Mode control both auto. Descent engine command override off. Engine arm off. 113 is in. We've had shutdown. We copy you down, Eagle. Okay, everybody, T1. Stand by for T1. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
And we're back.
Hooray for the Springs.
Why, thank you. It's so close to my heart.
And whoever thought of putting it on our show as an animated feature is a genius.
Yes, yes, he is.
So, last time that we talked about, or that I talked about miniatures, we were doing the first part of my miniature painting lesson, Painting 101. And we talked about what materials you needed for painting miniatures. And I think we kind of briefly mentioned you need a miniature if you're going to paint miniatures, but I don't think we went into a lot of detail. And we might not even mention that. So if you're going to paint a miniature, you need miniatures. It helps to have a miniature.
Yeah.
So how do you pick which one you want to paint?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
It comes down to the purpose, because some people want to buy lots and lots of miniatures because they're getting into a game like Warhammer where you need entire armies.
Right, right.
Some people want a miniature to represent their character in a role-playing game, in which case you're looking for an individual type miniature.
So you got kind of a little bit of a variety going.
And some game masters want something in between because they want the bad guys and the NPCs for the players to fight, and then they might also provide characters for the players so they don't have to go out and get one.
Yeah, I've got a little box of random minis for games.
It helps. So that's what you kind of need to decide, and there's a huge variety of Reaper, and these guys do a plastic version, Chronoscope of Bones, and you have everything from Games Workshop that does Warhammer. You have these guys, the War Games Factory, that makes figures. There's a ton, and we'll just throw up a whole bunch of different brand names here.
Well, not only that, I mean, we should at least mention at this point in time my personal genre of this, that there are also minis for war games like space games.
Because you buy the FASA.
Yeah, they're ADB. Emerald Design Bureau, one of my favorite people on the planet. I love those guys. They make
little figures of the Star Trek ships.
Yeah, for their game Federation Commander and Starfleet Battles. And
yep.
So I mean, but it's not just that. There's Battlefleet Gothic and some of the other games that are like that. So
once
that's
again,
the
Games Workshop. So you can get little spaceships as well. Yeah. And there's different scales too. There's really, really tiny, like miniatures. Yeah. Miniatures of miniatures. They're super tiny. And then you have the larger ones, and then if you're playing D&D, you can get huge dragons and such. Yeah. So you got to pick what you're going to paint. And so I decided what's the best way for me to represent this with you guys. And I went with, I have a game that I really like called Zombicide.
Herg!
Our brains. And it comes with a lot of miniatures. And they're the plastic variety. They're already made, but they aren't painted. And
he wants to remedy that.
And I want to fix that because I like painted miniatures, being the kind of guy who paints miniatures. It gives them more character. And you have a variety of everything from your generic bad guys, and then they get slightly more on their levels of importance to the actual boss, bad guy boss. And then you have the player characters, and those I want to paint on as high a level possible as I can because they're the showpiece of the game.
Right.
The Mook zombies, the zombies that are just, generic Mookie ones, or mocha if they're chocolatey. Yum.
Chocolate zombies.
Delicious. Then those, not so important how detailed I paint them.
Right.
So this will give me a chance that when I get to part 3 and I'm showing you how to paint figures, I will show you the different levels of detail that I go into with guys I don't care about so much. They're out there as filler and dressing for the set dressing for the game, all the way up to the stars of the show and how they get more attention and detail. And these guys are already primered, and when I primer figures, and we'll cut to our magic bureau for this, I like to use Elmer's glue to secure them onto cardboard, or if you really want to, some people like to paint the miniature while attached to a stick, you can go buy a bunch of little popsicle sticks. I'd say buy the ones that haven't been used yet, otherwise you have to deal with all the stickiness of the popsicle.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than sticky popsicles.
Melty popsicles are worse than sticky.
Yeah, you get the chocolate popsicle. No, I don't know. Or now if you're doing your mocha zombies.
That could be. Good.
Yeah, see?
And so like people like to hold them to paint them like this, and I use Elmer's glue just because it's easier to pop them back off and sand it down. If you super glue them, it gets a little trickier to get rid of that stuff. And then I just spray the primer on, and I do about 80% primer. You don't have to completely coat them. It's just to give something for the paint to grab. We're going to come up now and take a quick break.
Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back, and we were talking about part 2 of miniature making.
So you need to pick your figure, you pick them, then you're going to primer them. Why do you want to primer a miniature?
That's a good question, and I'm going to be like really.
But you know, don't you?
Yeah, of course I do.
Why don't you tell them?
Well, the biggest problem with especially metal miniatures, but plastic as well, is that paints don't like to stick to it. So it's a smooth surface. It's a very smooth surface. So what we do is we use something like this primer here, which is just Krylon indoor-outdoor primer, which is really making my head spin. And we spray that on there, and it roughs up the surface and sticks to that metal. Yeah. And it just makes it so that the paint will adhere and won't come right off in any kind of wonderful way.
Yep, that's the primary reason for it.
Ha!
The secondary reason for it is it gives it a unified color as your canvas. So like some of these guys, he was completely orange, and so by making him mostly white, he's going to reflect the color I put on him. So painting flesh color onto his face will make it pop more than if I was trying to put it on a color that's already there.
Right.
And they do primers in different colors. They do the white, they do the gray, they do the black.
Yeah.
And so,
heck, I've even seen olive drab primer. I don't know why that was there, but
so it really depends on what you want to paint that miniature as.
Sure.
So if you're doing a bunch of dark armored knights, I found it's better to just go ahead and primer them in black, because then it's a little less work that you have to do to go back and make it that way. When you're doing brighter colors and skin colors, I find that white is a better way to go with it.
In general, I very rarely use anything but white with my ships.
You do Federation?
Because I do Federation. And but I think if I were to do Klingon ships, I might do them in a gray so that they can lay down real nicely with that gray. Romulans would be white in ADB.
Borg, you'd primer black, I would guess.
Yeah, I'd go black with Borg. Although you might not, and it's because you got all that green, the green lights inside there that you'd want to show up green. So,
mentioning miniatures and Zombicide and stuff, this group I really like because each of these boxes only cost me $15.
Yep.
And they have the pieces in it to make 30 different figures, and they're customizable. So I can design them however I want. If I want some guy with 2 machine guns, you can have 2 machine guns. If I want them with a machete and a machine gun, you can do that. So I really like that, and they're in the scale that fits with these miniatures, whereas you'll see that the zombies from Warhammer are too big. As you can see here, where I'm comparing her head to the head of one of the zombies from Zombicide to the head of the zombies from Warhammer, they're significantly bigger, especially if you look at the arms right here.
Bring me the head of the zombies of Warhammer.
That's right. You can see that her arm is significantly smaller than the arm of the zombie.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit more about these miniatures specifically, because you get the variety. Some miniatures, specifically the plastic ones, will come on sprues, is what it's called, and that's what you end up with.
Little trees that they're all on. Sprue
and so you
trees.
have to get them off of there and then build them.
This is not like pine trees. These are sprue trees.
Sprue trees. And then some of them, like this guy here, who is a Lord of Slaanesh Chanel. Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. So they're metal, and they come in pieces, and they require more work for assembling. You will want to do what's called pinning, which show you later on that's a more advanced technique.
Yeah.
You can't just glue them together the way you can the plastic ones, whereas this one. So if you were playing a wizard in a fantasy game, this is a good choice because it comes with multiple ways to build that wizard. So you can give them different, more customizable. And then these are an attempt to make miniatures cheaper, called the Bone series. They're the same molds as some metal miniatures, but they're made out of plastic, and they're about 50% cheaper. So this figure was about $250. The metal version's about $5. and give you a little example there of the
Reaper.
metal one next to it. I don't have identical ones, which I was looking for, but
Sure.
so there you go. You want to prime your miniature, pick your miniature that you want, primer them, and then next time I'll show you getting into the details of painting.
There you go. And now we're going to go to This Geek in Space. And now it's time for another thrilling dramatic reading with Guy. Hi there. Today's dramatic reading will be from Ian Dosher's Star Wars, Verily A New Hope. Prologue. Outer Space. Chorus. It is a period of civil war. The spaceships of the rebels striking swift from base unseen. Having gained a victory over the cruel galactic empire now adrift. Amidst the battle, rebel spies prevailed and stole the plans to a space station vast, whose powerful beams will later be unveiled and crush a planet. 'Tis the Death Star blast. Pursued by agents sinister and cold, now Princess Leia to her home doth flee, delivering plans and a new hope they hold of bringing freedom to the galaxy. In time so long ago begins our play in star-crossed galaxy far, far away. Scene 1. Enter C-3PO and R2-D2. C-3PO. Now is the summer of our happiness, made winter by this sudden, fierce attack. Our ship is under siege, I know not how. Oh, hast thou heard? The main reactor fails. We shall most certainly be destroyed by this. I'll warrant madness lies herein. R2-D2. Beep, beep. Beep, beep, meep, squeak. Beep, beep, beep. We. C-3PO. We're doomed. The princess shall have no escape this time. I fear the battle doth portend the end of the rebellion. Oh, what misery. Exeunt C-3PO and R2-D2. And that concludes the dramatic reading from Star Wars, Verily A New Hope by Ian Dosher. Pick it up at your local stores. Verily. Thank you. And we're back. And that's all the time we've got. That's been our show. Thanks for joining us.
If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe to us. It really helps us out. And every time you subscribe, a weeping angel gets its wings.
Next week,
we're going to cover that amazing comic convention, Denver Comic Con.
Yes.
With
Yes,
some
we are.
awesome interviews.
We've got some great interviews for you. So stick with us.
And thanks for coming and joining us on MOONDAY.
On MOONDAY.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi there. It's expensive making Geek Tank week after week, but we love it. Do you want to pledge your support and help us? Of course you do. Go to patreon.com/Geek Tank and pledge your support today. That's patreon.com/Geek Tank. Thank you.